All right, here we go. Dallas Cowboys. Can we hear from Jerry Jones? Optimistic, Jack, about this year's team. Likes his coach, likes his rebuilt defense. And here's Jerry Jones yesterday in Oxnard, California, welcoming the media to another year of training camp under his leadership.
But you look at that, you look at what we have, you look at our quarterback, you look at our quarterback room, you look at all of that, and then you come up with a feeling. The feeling is that if we could get some things done right, avoid that injury bug at some key areas, we got a shot to make something happen here. I think the material, so to speak, or the players, the scheme, the measure of success we had on offense last year, the projecting of our offensive line being more efficient than it was last year, whether it be the player, whether it be as a group, as a team itself, all of those things are in place, and it feels good. Now, we're going to have to read the tea leaves as we go, but we're operating as though we got a chance to be one of the better teams.
All right. We're operating as though we have a chance to be one of the better teams. And when he says read the tea leaves, that's going to lead to a conversation here, Jack and folks, bigger in the A block. But first, here's Brian Schottenheimer, brass tacks. This is one of the reasons they feel like they'll be much improved. They do have everybody back on their offense, and they think they're going to be even better on the offensive line. Year 2 under Clayton Adams, their offensive coordinator. And now, obviously, Christian Parker is in as the defensive coordinator. And listen to Brian Schottenheimer talking about, this should get you excited if you're a Cowboys fan. This is Schotty talking about what led him to Christian Parker as new DC. And we know they brought in 13 new players on defense since the Micah Parsons trade. It's an overhaul, and they've gotten guys like DeMarvion Overshown, and they hope Siobhan Revel healthy. Here's Jerry. Here's Schotty on the offseason moves that they did make. We'll get to the Christian Parker thing coming up.
Yeah, I think it comes down to the work ethic, the way we practice. I've made it very clear we expect to have very physical practices, not only against ourselves, but we got the 2 joint practices against New Orleans and the Rams. And so I look forward to that. I'm going to go back to Nick's point, competing against the defense every day. I'm very confident in what they can do. The scheme it fits us well. The personnel moves that we made and bringing in Rashawn Gary and D. Winters and Caleb Downs and Malachi Lawrence, all those moves that we made, it was not a quiet offseason for us. And it was a great offseason for us. And one that we worked extremely hard on, starting with the coaching search. And I feel amazing about what we did, bringing in the defensive staff changes with Christian Parker leading the way, and then into free agency and getting Jalen Thompson a guy. I mean, it has not been a quiet offseason. It's been an awesome offseason, and I think that's why we're excited.
All right, so awesome offseason, not good, awesome is where the Cowboys are with their offseason, which is interesting to me. Well, okay, that leads to this, Jack, and this is why Jerry's excited. Okay, so then we get to the point of the press conference where Jerry Jones was asked about, is this a quiet offseason? He kind of likes it. But that led right into a question that I'll let you hear for Stephen Jones about possibly adding to the roster now, like during training camp. Is that something that's a possibility? Here's Jerry into Stephen.
I've never thought that there was anything quiet or subdued about the Dallas Cowboys. I never thought of it that way. But I have been guilty of stirring it up. And you guys help me. And we have been a great team. I promise you that for the last 30-something years. And so that does happen, and it is good. I don't believe it makes one iota worth of difference on whether or not we block the guy or go off tackle. But I do like the perception that we've had a quiet, uneventful off season, and let's see how we can work in that. Perception is big. But what I will tell you is I don't plan on doing anything around here for the next few days to stir anything up.
All right, there you go, Jerry Jones. We're not going to stir anything up. Well, now here's the question for Stephen about adding to the roster that's already coming to camp.
John.
John Machota with The Athletic for Stephen. As you come out here, you look at your roster.
Do you feel like everything you need is on this current roster, or could there still be potential moves to be made?
I think there's always moves that you can make to be better. I mean, we're entertaining thoughts on players as we speak right now. I mean, Will does an amazing job of getting the players and putting them in front of Jerry, myself, Shotty, and so we're always looking for ways to get better. I will say that I think we've done a good job of putting together a roster that's going to take the field today. They were out there working working out. That gives us a great opportunity to really do the things that we want to do, which is be a lot better than we were last year and hopefully compete for a Super Bowl. That's every team's goal. I'm sure if you ask 31 other teams in this league, their goal is to win the Super Bowl. And certainly when we go to work, every offseason, that's our goal. And but I do feel like we've done a really good job of doing the things that we need to do to improve not only coaching but also players to give us that opportunity. But the other answer to your question is no, we're not finished. I mean, we're going to look for opportunities every day to improve this roster. And obviously guys will go out on that field, they'll compete, and some guys will really show up, you'll be really pleased. And like any team in any given year, even in years where we won Super Bowls, you're looking for ways to improve as you go through training camp into the preseason and then ultimately into the season. You're always looking for ways to make your team better.
With Donovan Ezaraku.
All right, so then Jerry jumped in during the Donovan Ezaraku answer, Jack, and said, hey, I was on the phone with an owner yesterday. Okay? Talking about adding to the roster potentially, which the keen ear of Cowboys reporter Jane Slater from the NFL Network, which is immediate. When I heard that, I was like, owner, not a general manager. He's talking to another owner. That's got to be a pretty significant player in my mind. And what do the Cowboys need right now? Well, they need a lot, but we talked about their cornerback issues. If Deron Bland's not healthy, Siobhan Revel, left tackle, but pass rush is still not solved. They got a couple young guys, Donovan Ezaraku. They drafted the kid out of Central Florida, but you're good on the interior. Well, this led Jane Slater to ask this question of Jerry Jones on the phone, as he said, with an owner yesterday, talking about maybe an addition. Here is Jane Slater's question and Jerry's answer.
But the word substantive stood out to me. You were engaging with the Raiders about giving something up substantive as it related to Max Crosby. Now, you don't have to tell me it is Max, but could you, one, why did you walk away from Max Crosby when it fell apart with the Ravens and not revisit that then?
We didn't. No, no, because there's nothing more to elaborate about, but we did not walk away.
Ooh, Jack Farrell, what do you hear there? So if we remember, let's take you back. Cowboys were in serious conversations and involved in a trade with Max Crosby, the all-pro edge rusher from the Raiders. Ultimately, that fell short in the Raiders of their asking price, and Baltimore then agreed to trade 2 first-round picks to get Max Crosby. That deal was later called off, shockingly, because of a failed physical. But Jerry Jones says we didn't walk away from it. It was their team doctor that did the surgery on Max Crosby in January, if you remember. Is it possible, as we sit here on July the 29th, that the owner that Jerry Jones was talking to yesterday was Mark Davis and the Vegas Raiders? Because, look, the Vegas Raiders had to take Max Crosby back after trading him and then signing a bunch of free agents. I mean, remember, the deal was done, but you know how the tampering period works. The deal was agreed to, then free agency began, and they signed Tyler Lindenbaum, a center. They signed a bunch of players, and then the deal was rescinded by the Ravens once they did a physical, and he comes back. And they're like, oh, we're good. We can afford it. We want him. But there was always the caveat, could this be revisited later in the offseason? And this is that's something I will note, because the Cowboys could still use. And the thing that Jane Slater asked that is important there, because when Jerry was talking about they would make a move, he said, I'm willing to give up substantive future for now. I'm willing to do something now if we think we can add something to because we really like our roster. We know it's not perfect. We know that the Rams just acquired Myles Garrett.
That's right.
And they may even get Aaron Donald back. So what if Max Crosby came available? What if that is the conversation and that the Raiders really still do want to move on from him and start fresh with a new head coach, and the Cowboys could lean back into that conversation?
Yeah, I think it makes sense for the Raiders. It does seem like they've pivoted entirely to, we're keeping this guy, we like him, we're back, with Max Crosby. Max Crosby wants to be here, but I still think it makes roster sense for them to move him. And if Dallas can take a swing on that without spending too much, he's a Metroplex guy, we know that.
Yeah,
we know who Max Crosby is. I don't have to make the hometown sale for it. He's a great player. So
and the Cowboys certainly wanted him back in March.
I think it makes a ton of sense, but is that just Jerry Bluster?
Well, let me just tell you, the offseason the Cowboys have had, getting Caleb Downs where they did, trading up one pick to get him, having still the 2 first-round picks, hitting the players that they did if they were able to swing a Max Crosby deal and use next year draft capital. Because look, I mean, whatever we think, this is the all-in year for the one of those all-in type of years. Because you probably have George Pickens for one more year. He showed up. He was on the bus. He's going to practice. He's on the franchise tag. He's going to be a good teammate. Wants to put up huge numbers. Jerry talked about that yesterday, and we'll hear it coming up. But Dak Prescott is hitting the balloon years of that contract of his. Dak Prescott's going to be a $70 million cap hit by next year. I mean, they've got to start. This is it. And you got George Pickens for one more go-round, and he's probably a free agent next year. Max Crosby's up there, but if you like the offseason fell your way, why not Max Crosby to go with Quinnen Williams and Kenny Clark up front and a returning DeMarvion Overshown and D. Winters? And
that turns into a pretty great front.
Yeah, maybe the best. Not better than the Rams, but close. I mean, Max Crosby's relentless. Plus, Max Crosby, unlike Micah Parsons, is great against the run. He stuffs the run. And Quinnen Williams maybe the best in the league at stuffing the run from defensive tackle, and then that would be a move. That's something to watch. And I give Jane Slater at NFL Network a lot of credit, because she asked the question, hey, Jerry, I heard you. Who were you talking to? You don't have to tell me, but I know you like Max Crosby. All right, let's double back on this for Cowboys fans about Christian Parker. I got this audio back. Here is Brian Schottenheimer talking about Christian Parker, his new defensive coordinator, what led him to him, and what they've already seen from the guy running the defense now.
Incredible communicator. I can't say that enough. The way he's an elite coach, Tommy, is when you walk by his office and multiple players are in there wanting to listen and talk to him about scheme and things like that. But the organization, the way he's organized this camp on the defensive side of the ball, from the individual section to the tackling circuit drills to the ball disruption drills to the install packages from first and second down fronts, pressures, coverages, things like that. He is a first-time coordinator that doesn't act like a first-time coordinator.
How difficult is it to, in your first year doing it, you had it as a head coach last year, like you mentioned, this is his year as a coordinator, to put together a plan like that for the first time?
I think if you've never thought about it in your years prior, it's really hard. But Christian's been preparing for this for 4, 5, 6 years. He's known that this is where he wanted to be, in the defensive coordinator chair of an NFL football team. And again, maybe the hardest working coach I've ever been around.
All right, so there it is. Locked in. Christian Parker, ready to go. I think it's a great hire personally, especially for what they need. He's going to work with Caleb Downs and work with Siobhan Revel, get Deron Bland back healthy. I think this is a really sharp hire, just like it was last year. The offense clicked under the hires he made. Let me play this for you, Jack. Here is the George Pickens, if I can find the George Pickens, because if you hear Jerry Jones talking about George Pickens, this gives you everything you need to know in my mind about where George Pickens is. They plan on having him one more year, and then he's going to go make big money on the free agent market. Here's Jerry Jones yesterday.
Our aspirations and our potential success, the combination that he has with the other talent on the team, I think will make you feel pretty positive about what we've got a chance to do. For the way we have worked this out is the way it fit. I'm proud that he will work it that way. I'm proud that he will. I hope that he comes out here and is the most prolific, successful receiver in the NFL this year. Now, how would you like to be a free agent and with his credentials and step out there and have a year like that?
There you go. They haven't said this, Jack, but that makes it feel like something we talked about way back at Franchise Tag Day. that they've had an agreement with David Mulugheta. One of the reasons he's in camp and on time and not holding out and been nothing but a great teammate is there's an agreement there that they're not going to franchise tag him next year. That at 25 years old, you go out, put up one more big monster year like you did last year, 1,500 yards, double-digit touchdowns, playing opposite CeeDee Lamb. We won't restrict you next year. You can go be a free agent.
Yeah.
We want you this year, which doubles back to the adding of Christian Parker in the offseason they've had and possibly re-engaging the Raiders for Max Crosby, and go for it this year. Why not?
Yeah, and that's the thing about the franchise tag is it's a great deal. It's a great amount of money. I mean, you're paid amongst the top of the line of your position. It's just the security the players want. So I guess if you could ask George Pickens if he's willing to be, I guess we'll see what the market is for him.
I think George
could be one of the
Pickens,
top paid receivers.
I think George Pickens is in this for him. He didn't have any leverage this time because he's only done it to 1 year, but for Jerry Jones to say that tells me that they're banking on Pickens having another huge year. Then they'll let him hit the market, and they're going to lose him, most likely. But, man, let's see what we can do this year on offense. Well, that would lead me back to the Max Crosby thing and say, hey, man, we did a lot of nice things on defense, but we're not a finished product. What if we could add Max for this year and maybe one more beyond? Now you have a total rebuild. Now you have Quinnen Williams, DeMarvion Overshown back, Caleb Downs running your secondary with Jalen Thompson. Deron Bland's back healthy, Siobhan Revel back healthy, and now we had Max Crosby, which makes your leaky secondary potentially not as much of a problem because he can get to the quarterback. I like it. All right, there you go. That's only day one, Jack. They don't even start practice till today. They're on the field today.